You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome to Inspiring Leaders. I'm Donna Chandler Newman, your host, and thank you for watching our program. Through this show, we meet community leaders and we examine how they're using their unique talents and skill sets to make a difference. And through our discussions, we hope to inspire others to discover and to share their own leadership abilities for the overall betterment of our community. Now, today on our show, we'll focus on Neighborhood Christian Centers, a nonprofit diligently working to break the cycle of generational poverty in the Mid-South and to restore hope in many in our community. I think you'll be intrigued by the scope and the depth of services the Neighborhood Christian Centers offers, and more importantly, I think you'll be stunned by the number of lives profoundly changed through the work of this 41-year-old organization. In this first portion of our show, we'll meet Ephie Ballard Johnson, President and Chief Executive Officer of Neighborhood Christian Centers. And we'll also meet Carlos Webster, the College and Career Coordinator at NCC, along with Denerio Lowe, a program participant of the organization. In the second segment, Ephie and I will be joined by Trey Watkins, a volunteer and the Treasurer of the Board of Directors for Neighborhood Christian Centers. Joining us now are Ephie Johnson, President and CEO, with Carlos Webster, a youth leader in their organization, and Denerio Lowe, a program participant, who will share some of his firsthand insights with us. Welcome.
Thank you.
I thank you all so much for being here today.
Glad to be here.
Well, gentlemen also. Good to see y'all. Ephie, let's start with you a little bit. You know, your history and your background and your history with the organization are all tied up together as it was started by your parents. Tell me about how everything involved and how Neighborhood Christian Centers came to be.
Well, it began in the early 60s, and then even before that, my mom and dad, Mother and Joanne Ballard, had their own stories of how their journey led to where we are today. My mother was the third of three children given away to foster parents, and she was 6 weeks of old at that time, and 6 weeks of age at that time. Mm-hmm. And so, as she matriculated through life and grew up in that family, she began to learn a lot about what it meant to be disenfranchised, what it meant to be a foster child, what it meant to be poor. And so as she moved on through life, went to college, she eventually went to a seminary where she had the opportunity to graduate from there as the first woman to attend that school and then graduate, and then moved on to Memphis as an assignment to open up a Sunday school here. And that's how she began to learn about the needs of the community as she was trying to build that Sunday school. My father was the third eldest of 8 children. And he could not read until he was in the 6th grade. He was born into poverty as well. And so learning and seeing what that meant from that perspective helped to move him along in his life. And he went on and graduated from college, and eventually, of course, he learned to read and moved to Memphis. And my parents eventually met each other and married, and they began to see the likeness, the light that they had for the community, the heart they had for the community. And so my parents would teach school in their early years, my mom high school, my father junior elementary, and they would bring kids home from our from that community. And over time, people would begin to ask them, would you just kind of caretake for my child? And over time, they began to keep them long-term and raised over 75 children in our home, long-term care. And they took our little 2-bedroom home and turned it into a 9-bedroom, 5-bathroom home. And that really began to establish their work in the community just from their heart. They weren't paid to do it. They didn't get money for those children. They did it from their heart.
Okay, so let me understand. They, over time, they had gone through their own brush with being poverty, and they'd gone through their own brush with that, and they felt the need to help others come through that, right?
Yes.
And 75 children in your home, that helped your heart grow for this.
Well, I mean, eventually,
Yeah.
Can't help my heart.
So
My heart wasn't always into it, but over time, yes, I lived the life, and along with my siblings, we lived our lives seeing and watching them engage with families, and us being a part of that, and serving people, and doing Christmas parties, and passing out clothes, and going into the community, and doing all the things that God put in their hearts to do. And we were children in the home, we did it too. And of course, over time, I thought I would run off and be a Broadway star or something, and that didn't happen.
But at some point, this became an organization.
It did. In 1978, it began to formalize as the Neighborhood Christian Centers, and my mother became the first executive director there.
Oh my gracious! And there's one center, or how many centers?
We now have 8 locations, neighborhood locations throughout the city, in 5 different communities: Fraser, North Memphis, the Big Hampton community, Southeast Shelby, Southeast Memphis, and so we're spreading and beginning to touch over 42 different zip codes here in the city.
Oh my gracious, that's amazing. It truly is. Well, all right. So, what is actually the mission of?
Well, the mission of Neighborhood Christian Centers is to provide compassionate, Christ-centered ministries to our neighbors in need, to move them towards stability and then sustainability. So we have a niche where we serve people in the Maslowian areas of need: crisis need, emergency support, and then empowerment programs. And then we are partnered with many different community partners to refer them out for additional services that are beyond what we do.
And we're going to talk about those in depth in just a minute.
Sure.
But let's meet Carlos next. Carlos, you came into the organization in kind of a circular route. Tell me a little bit about how you became acquainted with NCC and what you do there now.
Yeah, I became acquainted with the Neighborhood Christian Center when I was, after I moved from Houston. I had got married, moved back to Memphis, and I volunteered for about a year with they had a program called Men of 2000, and it worked with the young men in Scudderfield apartments in the North Memphis area. And after volunteering, there became an opportunity to come on staff with an organization, Urban Youth Initiative. And the Urban Youth Initiative funded me to work at the Neighborhood Christian Center for a couple of years. And 20 years later, I'm still here.
And you are now the College and Career Development?
Right, College and Career Coordinator. And so what I do, the young men and women that participate in our after-school program and graduate from high school, they go into our college program, and we help them get into various colleges through helping them with their financial aid, college applications, finding a school, or even finding a trade school or a career school to attend.
Denerio, tell me how you learned about the Neighborhood Christian Center and how you became involved there.
I first learned about the Neighborhood Christian Center is when the youth had came to the Rob Hood Apartments, which is where I had stayed, and they used to come to the apartments to get the kids that was outside, or they used to knock on doors for kids and bring us to the Christian Center, and like we used to do a lot of games, go over like group games they had.
So the Neighborhood Christian Center has had a great impact on you. Tell me what it's meant to you and to your family.
It's meant a big help to me and my family because they were able to help my mom get a job, help my mom able to pay light bills, help her to get a new apartment, which we stay in the Sherwood Apartments, and things like that.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing some of your story with us. I appreciate that. Ephie, let's go back. What Denerio was talking about, you actually package, if you will, what you offer in 3 different buckets, correct?
Yes.
Tell me about those.
So we have 3 different buckets, 4 different areas. Compassionate services is where we serve our families in the needs that's similar to what he shared, the basic needs, crisis needs, helping to create stability for families that are in that type of situation. And then we have our youth programs that start at the earliest age of 4 to 5 years old, all the way through college and career or trade. And then our adult programs, which are adult empowerment programs for men, women, and families. And so those are the 3 different areas that we focus on holistically when we're serving a family.
So, all right, talk about the impact, because you've seen great impact from this as well, right?
Yes, I share with people that impact is relative, because when you're serving people that are having to understand first what situation they're in, and that they can break free, and there's hope, and they can go past where their parents were. That is a milestone within itself. We've seen success like Denerio, who has gotten his driver's license, and he's getting ready to go to college full time, and he's getting a job because of this. We have a relationship with SOS, and because of our partnership with them and the things we were doing last summer, they really liked him and wanted him to work for them. So he has an opportunity to move forward in that way. We're seeing many of our moms that have been working with their children and trying to be good parents now having the opportunity to get jobs. And so are we seeing hundreds and thousands of people get jobs every day? No, we're seeing ones and twos and threes of people getting jobs every day. And that's a big deal when you're moving people out of poverty where they've never worked. So we're very proud of what we're seeing every day.
I bet you are. That's an entirely different mindset for everyone, isn't it?
It is.
I think you told me even that attendance is up. Grades are up in schools,
yes.
correct?
We are seeing improvement, and Carlos could probably share even more because that's what he does every day. But because they are engaged with the students every day, we're seeing the students' attendance and behavior improve.
Right.
Yeah.
And out of the 4 or 5 the 5 locations that have youth sites, the students are not only are they coming more to our program, but it's like we holding them accountable like a parent. They're like, I'm going to school, or we don't see them in school. We're able to check up on them, follow up, see what's going on, and make sure they're in school the next day so that they can get that classroom seat time.
What an amazing impact. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Denerio, and thank you, Carlos, for explaining to us a lot about what NCC does for our youth.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ephie, will you stay with me a minute and let's talk a little further about Neighborhood Christian Centers?
I look forward to it.
Oh, me too. Thanks. We're going to pause now for a short break, and when we return, NCC's President and CEO, Ephie Johnson, and I will be joined by the Treasurer of the Board of Directors for the NCC, Trey Watkins.
This place, it's extremely unique.
You are pushed to do things that you didn't know you could do because someone else saw it.
If you're with us for your whole 4 years here at GHS, you get a great foundation of amazing classes.
Try the priest.
The approach we take to whether it's the fall play or the spring musical is that the students are truly the ones that are making the magic happen.
Tell all the people.
You put the work in off and on stage. Not only are you on stage acting and playing a part, you're working, you're pricking your fingers, sewing the costumes, you're learning how to make exotic makeup designs, you're learning how to build the set that you're going to be planted on.
And as you grow with us within the program, your skills continue to develop and we build off your previous knowledge. And hopefully by the time you graduate, you're a well-rounded professional in a way, and you can move into any area that you'd like after high school and succeed.
For more information about the Kappa program, visit ghskappa.com or call 755-7775.
We're running a 24-hour broadcast television station like no other school has done.
It is student run, it's student produced, it is student written, and it's student directed.
Here's to another 35 more years.
Students here get immersed in lots of different types of shows so that when they go out into the real world or to college, if this is what they want to pursue, they are so prepared.
Those lessons have also affected me in the ways that I would never even imagine.
It has shown me to be different and to, not settle for mediocrity. When you're producing a show, you want your show to be the best one it can be. You want it to be, a show to remember, a show that you want to look back on and say, I did that.
Yes, I did do this. Did I believe that I could do this? No, but because of all the support that I gained, I know that I can actually get this done.
I know that the skills I've learned here is something I'm never going to forget, and same with the experiences here.
From all of us here at GHS-TV, have a great day.
For more information about the Kappa program, visit ghskappa.com or call 755-7775. You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Donna Chandler Newman, and you are watching Inspiring Leaders. Today we're talking about neighborhood Christian centers and their work toward breaking the cycle of generational poverty and toward restoring hope for the underserved within our community. Now, in our second segment, we're pleased to continue talking with Ephie Johnson, President and CEO of NCC, and to be joined by Trey Watkins, a faithful volunteer and treasurer of the Board of Directors for Neighborhood Christian Centers. So, thank you so much for staying with us, Ephie. I appreciate it. And Trey, thank you so much for being with us. I've known your family a long time, and I'm so glad to see you. Absolutely. And the good work you do doesn't surprise me because of knowing your family. So, but go back a little bit. If I'm not mistaken, this is indeed a volunteer position for you. You're a member of the firm of Watkins Uberall?
That's correct.
Trey Watkins, Uberall, got it. Okay. So anyhow, I'm very glad to have you here, especially during tax season. Now, let me ask you, Trey, there are about 1,000, well, actually there are 3,500 nonprofits in our area. Why did you get affiliated with Neighborhood Christian Centers? Why give your time and talent and treasure to NCC?
Originally, I was approached by our former board chair, Scott Stafford, who introduced me kind of to the organization. The church I attend has a close relationship with the Neighborhood Christian Center, and so got to be familiar. And then once I met Ephie, I knew this was the place to be because she's very, very passionate. She's the heart and soul of our organization, and they're doing a lot of good work. So that's really how I got connected, was through church and through individuals that were already involved.
So you knew about them already and then decided this was a great place to, well, actually, I don't know anybody. Does anybody say no to Ephie?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Oh, there's some that have. I come back.
I was going to say you're pretty tenacious, Ephie. I doubt that. Seriously, many people say no to you. Well, you know, when you and I were talking, we talked about this entire concept of generational poverty and bringing hope back. I think your tagline is stabilize families, reduce poverty. And I guess that astonishes me because I really wasn't acquainted with the entire concept. Can you elaborate on that and then talk about where NCC fits in there?
Well, if you think of the people we serve or the communities we serve are living in a perpetual state of instability, and so and not necessarily aware of that. And so when we look at people that we want to move toward all these jobs in Memphis or to get an education or to go and get a trade, what does that mean? Well, that's very foreign for people that have not seen it for 2 or 3 generations prior. Maybe grandparents have never graduated from high school. Maybe there have been multiple generations of family members that have had multiple children. So that has been what they have done all the time and lived off of the government for their livelihood. And so to introduce to them what it means to really have a stable, contributing, and stable family situation where you're a contributing citizen to Memphis, to our country, is a foreign concept. And so to say that you have to go to work, you need to live off of what you earn, that you need to go to school and that you'll have to take time to plan out what your life will look like 7 years from now, 4 years from now. Well, those are very foreign thoughts for families that have been generationally living in a state that has been served through welfare.
Now, okay, so why is it a foreign thought? I mean, I guess, you know, the part of me that that grew up in Germantown when nobody lived here is saying, what about mom and dad? Tell me about that.
So I want to backtrack because I talked about my parents and how they were raised. They were raised and they were poor, but you might have heard some people say, we were poor, but we didn't know it. So not every person that is poor is impoverished.
Yeah.
Or generationally poor, or generationally impoverished. There are people that have been born in poverty or born being poor, but they know and have a work ethic that they will work, they will save, and they will do it. Maybe they'll never be rich, but they won't be dependent upon the government. So not every person that even we serve or in our sphere of influence live in generational poverty. But then there are those that are entrapped in that mindset, maybe have not been exposed to religious organizations or after-school programs such as we offer, or anything that has a methodical opportunity to be consistent and to move toward aspiring, matriculating higher than where they are. And so when you are incubated in inconsistency, when you're incubated in a lifestyle that is crisis every day, and then you raise a baby, maybe from day one, the first stop past the hospital is a neighborhood Christian centers or someone like us for their formula, for their diapers, for whatever they're going to get, not Target, not a baby shower, not those things.
Gotcha.
Well, when that's your lifestyle, and as a child, that is my vantage point, then all I know to do is what I've seen. So generational means I am repeating what I've seen. I'm repeating what I know. And so when someone comes in, and we come in, volunteers or staff, to say this is a better way, how is that a better way? I've never seen that before. I don't trust that. You can't convince me of that. So it takes time with a Denerio, his mother, different people like that, to continue to work and demonstrate this can be different. And what you have known to be the rightest thing you know is not the best way. This is the better way. This was intended for you to get through a crisis, not for your livelihood.
I see.
I don't know if that gives you all the definition.
Actually,
but it helps.
you're talking about this is my frame of reference, and these are my role models.
Right.
And so.
And this is all I know.
Yes, and that makes all the sense in the world. And when I think about you and Trey and Carlos and what you provide for Denerio, it shows him there are other options.
That's right.
That's amazing. But it is a mindset change.
And it's a lifetime change. It's committing to families beyond their mother. His mother was a part of our ministry before he was a child, before he was born, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then for him to engage, we have now gotten him to a point where he'll be going to college that his mother never was able to achieve. She wanted that for her children. And so that is how you continue to move people out of poverty.
And you're spreading the mission here. If I remember correctly, when this all first started, it started out of your home, and then we had 1 center, and now you have 8.
Right.
In order to get, and there are so many more that I'm sure you could put, in order to get to that level, takes a great deal of money,
Exactly.
Mr. Treasurer.
Talk about it, Trey. Tell the world.
Tell me where you get your funds.
We have some good support from some local churches. They've been very generous to our organization. But really the heart and soul of our funding is individuals, viewers that are watching this show, for example, living in these, it's hard to not get involved if you could see the work they were doing. I would encourage anybody watching the show to get on the website, ncclife.org, and just get kind of acquainted with what we're doing. And if you want to do a tour, if you want to come down, Ephie, the staff, they're always doing that stuff.
Yeah.
But you'd be surprised to know that, I mean, our yearly budgets are make or break based on individual giving. And so there is a huge outreach that we do to the people in our community, in our church communities, and try to get them involved. And we can do so much more if we had the resources to do it. And so we run on a shoestring budget. We don't have a fat organization, I can assure you that. Every week we're watching the numbers, and we're watching the budgets and seeing how we're performing, and we react accordingly.
So you'd love to have more centers, and serve more people. How many people do you touch again?
In 2018, we served 58,800 people. And out of that group, we had about 200 families that were our core priority families, which is about 1,000 plus people.
That is amazing. That is amazing, because you are running on a shoestring. So, and with a limited group of staff too.
Right.
So that's amazing that you do that.
And we depend on our volunteers. We depend on people to come and get involved and help us to do that.
So honestly, you would welcome more volunteers and welcome funds too as well, right? So both. And when the volunteers come down, you do have things for them to do,
We
correct?
do. We have things that we want them to do. Sometimes people think that it's what they want to come do, so I want to make sure that's clear. We need them to come do what we need done because we have reading programs that we done. So I watched this video one time that was at Second Press where the video said, the volunteer said, I want to come and paint the same wall again. So the wall has been painted. We need you to come and help read to some children. We need some people to help in the food pantry and then put clothes in the clothes closet and help in our warehouse to get the clothes ready and prepped to send out to our other sites. So there's much work to do to help us run every day.
You also, and in terms of the money, you also have several events that you take care of. Tell me a little bit about those.
Well, we have our Compassion Christmas event that's every year between right after Halloween through Christmas, and then we have one coming up right now, our Spring Jam, which is where we invite about 1,200 kids that are a part of our schools that we partner with. They bus those children over to our main office and they go through a simulation process of seeing a country, and this year is Argentina. And we go to the schools, we take pictures of the children, they get a passport, they go through the nurses station, they exchange money, Paragon Banks, whatever partners, then they go through TSA, then they get on this plane, and it's all kinds of stuff. And then they end up in Argentina, and we have all kinds of volunteers for that as well. So it's really fun.
What's the date on that?
That is March, I believe, 7th, 8th, and 9th.
7th, 8th, and 9th. And you will welcome volunteers
we
for that now?
welcome volunteers. We need tour guides. We need all kinds of folks. And we need folks in the kitchen. And I'll say this is many of our children's only way of getting away for spring break. So my mother created this opportunity because many of the children we serve don't leave 3 miles outside of the radius of their home, 3 miles radius of their home in their whole life. And so we want to give them exposure so that they can see that something's beyond where they're living today.
You all do such excellent work. Thank you so much for everything you do and for helping our community.
Thank you for having us.
Proud to do it.
Thank you. And thank you for being with us today for Inspiring Leaders. We appreciate our guests on today's show, Ephie Johnson, Carlos Webster, Denerio Lowe, and Trey Watkins, all with Neighborhood Christian Centers. If you'd like further information on Neighborhood Christian Centers, you can check out their Facebook page or you can visit their website, ncclife.org. Again, ncclife.org. If you're interested in the air dates of Inspiring Leaders or for our station's complete programming information, visit us on GHS-TV.org, where we're streaming live 24 hours a day. You can keep up with GHS-TV by visiting our website. We hope you'll like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you again for joining us. Be sure and watch our show, Inspiring Leaders, again next month.